My name is Sharper. I'm a top 500/GM player in Europe, and as of today I would like to bring you closer to the Overwatch spectator, the observer of games when it comes to tournaments and so on. And we're gonna start small, go through every basic thing, and go on into some more detail from what I've learned from myself and what I want to show you. So, in this first video, we're gonna start off very simple and talk about the key bindings of the observer mode in general. Note that I have already changed my own keybinds, but I think I remember most of the basic ones, and if I already had changed them before, I'm sorry. So let's start off. One of the bindings that you're gonna need is hide chat, because you don't want to see this chat on stream most of the times in professional circumstances. I rebound that to numpad 1. I think it's something like Control Shift C or something like that. So I'd recommend to rebind that as well. Then let's go over to excuse me for the coughing, to the more needed bindings. You're not only gonna use one time. So there's the spectate player 1 to 12. Those are normally bound from F1 to F12, but I rebound them to F1 to 6 and 1 to 6. The reason is, it's for one simpler for me to get this easy going, because it's just I don't have to count like in game suddenly, oh what was 10 again, F10 is like the 4th player, right, and so on. So I just thought to myself, yeah, I'm just gonna do it like this, and it's also easier to access. You have all on the left side of your keyboard, so I'd recommend to go and change that as well. Then after that, I'll skip a bit. We have the static cameras, and I put them from 7 to circumflex and F7 to 9 for the kind of same reason. So they're all on the same side of the keyboard and stuck together. Plus, they're not really needed to be used that fast and often as you might use the player changing. So that's why they're on the right side of the keyboard. Alright then. Then let's go over to some other bindings. What do we need? We have already like most of the bindings covered. There are like 35 bindings, and we covered already 25 or something of them. Let's go over the last ones. There's like the movement that you don't see here. It's for the cameras, WASD obviously, and then there's this other movement that you also need to have bound, which is move fast and slow and move down and up. So I think normally move down and up is on E and Q. The reason why you should rebind this though is, if you have your hand normally on the keyboard on WASD, and now imagine you have to strafe the camera with A or D, but also go up or down at the same time. How are you gonna do that? How are you gonna hit E and D with your index finger at the same time? And that's exactly the reason why I put them on my mouse, the two buttons on the left side of my mouse, and I put the move fast and slow on shift respectively alt, because you're always gonna use your index finger, your middle finger, and your ring finger for the movement on WASD, right? So those fingers are not allowed to be used for the other stuff. That's why you have your pinky and your thumb for shift and alt. So those do not collide, and you don't get limited, because you would have to do this button press at the same time with one finger. Then we also have zoom in and zoom out. That's just basic on the mouse wheel. Modify FOV, I don't really need that, so I just left it on B. Same for camera blending. We'll get into the detail later what this does exactly. You rarely need it, so you can leave it in Y or do it somewhere else. Then spectate lock on and spectate toggle on the reticle is also basic bindings. You can leave them like that unless you feel like you really need to change it. Pretty much spectate lock on is just when you left click on a target, the camera will follow it no matter where the camera is. So if you have it like on a static camera, it will always turn to the character you followed, and on the reticle it's just crosshair. Then I have show health bars. I rebound that to numpad 5. Really, you can bind it however you want. I think it's not that important. And then there are only two more bindings, which is toggle third person. I got that on T. If you press it again, you go back. And spectate self is kind of free cam. I put that on G. And last but not least, objective cam is also around there on F. So there's that for the bindings. We'll keep it really simple at that. Maybe find your own bindings, but for now I'd just recommend using something like this. Just make sure that you don't have colliding bindings, as I mentioned before, like with the movement from WASD. Not that you have one finger suddenly that needs to press two buttons at the same time, but obviously that doesn't work, because that will interfere and make your camera moving clunky or not look good, and we want to deny that. So thank you for watching this first video, and we'll be back in the next video talking about the different camera modes.